Good afternoon from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Wednesday, September 14. We've received quite a few reactions to yesterday's clip focusing on having stripped the varnish off of the 1946 bright U22's topsides, and in particular they related to the next step, extracting the varnish from the wood. So I thought I would follow up now that I've spent since early this morning just having the most wonderful time scrubbing every square inch of the starboard topsides. I made it from the stem to the transom. I think you'll agree as we look at it that there's more work waiting for me, starting about midships aft and going aft, but she's pretty clean. The first question that we received, and from several people, was exactly what are these pot scrubbers? Well, I'm pretty sure I purchased these by the case from Amazon.com. I will check and see if I can find the link to include in the narrative. But they are from New Star Food Service. So obviously they're not originally purposed to scrub varnished or painted surfaces, wood, plastic, steel, or otherwise, but they're great for it. Now, let me just step around here. This is how they arrive. They're actually called sponge scrubbers, and they're really kind of cute. They're all curly-cued. They've got even this sort of cool little end that's kind of looks like a hook. But if you tried to use them like that, you don't have anything you can work with. So what I do, the first thing I do, is simply tear them apart. Get them as flat and stretched out as I can, and here's the pad I've been using all morning. You can see it. There's a little bit of residue of stain in there, but what's really neat is that the sponge, if you want to anoint it as a sponge, continually cleans itself, and by having it spread out like this, I have a great big pad that I can put in the palm of my hand, because one of the things you want to be careful of is exerting too much pressure in a small area, which will scratch the mahogany. Believe it or not, what looks like a bunch of flimsy curlicues, when pressed too hard against the wood, will cause scratches. So if we move our attention from the sponges to the boat, get this out of the way, we can see that in fact she's really quite clean. Once we've cleaned her to the point where we're ready for the next step, which will be repairing the imperfections that we find in the planking, one of us, in this case it was me, goes all the way along the starboard as I have here, side, as I have here, with just some blue painter's tape, noting every place that the planking's been dinged, has split. That long piece of tape you see there, it's probably about 15 inches long, is a split. There's another pretty good split right here, and then there are just the gouges and dings that happen, through time as a result of just being used. But the problem with relying on me is exactly the same as the lesson any author of almost anything serious should learn. Write it, proof it, and then give it to somebody who hasn't seen it, and all of your mistakes will become quickly apparent to you because that person hasn't spent endless time laying eyes on, concentrating on, thinking about what was being written. And here, I'm burdened by the fact that I'm the one who kept working along the wood. So both John and RJ will each take a turn, and once they are finished, we will mark this, have this boat completely marked, and then John will work his way through, working his magic with his feathery Dutchman patches, the really small places that are now filled with some kind of almost white filler. We will fill, and we'll talk about that at the time. But for the most part, anything you see here that's more than an inch long will receive a Dutchman. And by very carefully excising a little bit of wood around, let's say, that crease right there, just opening it up a bit, and then spending quite a bit of time shaping a feathered Dutchman that just slides in and then is glued and clamped. The glue, we use Gorilla Glue, which is absolutely waterproof. And then once it's sanded, it'll be invisible. Once all the repairs are done, we will sand with our 18-inch longboard sanders, pneumatic sanders, and we will sand down to 100, maybe to 120, and then we'll proceed with staining. So the starboard side is pretty much stripped and cleaned. There's a couple areas back here towards the aft end that, especially right there, you see that sort of very light area that seems to have kind of a halo of dark around it. I'll have to pull the tape and re-clean that. But the rest of it is ready for John to do the cosmetic repairs, sanding, and then we can get on with staining, sealing her, and my goodness, we might even put some varnish on at some point. Thank you so much from Snake Mountain Boat Works.